Welcome, everyone, to another episode of Indie Reads Aloud. Today, the astounding and amazing Barbara Evers is returning to read to us again. Today, she's going to be reading from a collection of short stories called The Nature of the Beast. Welcome back, Barbara.
Thank you. It's great to be back. And thank you for that wonderful introduction. I love being called amazing. Sometimes
Well,
I'm called unusual. So,
I think you are amazing.
well, thank you. I agree with you on your part too. You're pretty amazing too. You do a lot.
Thanks. It's fun. I have a good time. Um,
That's good.
your at the top of the show we showed your bio picture, and
Mhm.
people may not know about your affinity for giraffes, and we
Mhm.
talk more about that with your fantasy series, but can you just tell us real quick about this interaction, because
Okay.
this guy looks like he likes you a lot.
Well, of course he did. I was feeding him.
Well, okay, that stands to reason.
That's the reason. We were at the San Diego Wild Animal Park. And of course, it's a safari park. So you can walk around, but you only see what the pass can get you to. So you can also pay a little extra and go on some tours where they ride you out into the safari area. You do a safari in San Diego. And we chose a 3 hour tour for feeding giraffes and rhinos. So that picture was taken on it. The cool thing about that particular tour is the day we went was a fairly quiet day, and we were the only ones on the tour.
Oh,
So it
that's
was
awesome.
myself and my husband, and we had three tour guides. So
That's fantastic.
it was
That's
great. One of them
the
was,
best way to do that.
yeah, one of them was in training, and she did a great job. One of them's job was to drive us around, and he had some contributions. And then our main tour guide was a giraffe expert, which was even better. And I'm
Even better.
still in contact with her. She's actually moved to North Carolina, and she does volunteer work at the North Carolina Zoo now. But I've stayed in contact with her ever since. In fact, she gave me some great insight on giraffes. But when she said, okay, what would y'all like to see today during your 3 hour tour? My answer was giraffes, giraffes, and more giraffes.
Yes, please.
Yes, please. And because it was just us, I didn't have to fight anybody but my husband to feed the giraffes. And he was absolutely content to let me do as much as I wanted. Hey, he fed the giraffes too. But I would say I did probably 80% of the feeding and he did maybe 20% of the feeding. So,
Yeah,
and of the
it's
photos
so
that got
cool.
taken, that one's the one that I'm grinning. Now, you'll see some people say, why are you pulled back? Well, they tell you need to kind of lean back because the giraffe's head is so heavy
Yes.
that if you get too close, they can knock you out. so,
Right?
so I was following the rules. If I was to show you pictures of my husband, he was not following the rules. And so he looks like he was a lot closer to the giraffes and everything, and he was. But I'm like, that's not how they told you to do it. Oh, well.
I have a great affinity for elephants, and I was fortunate to go on a similar tour at Busch Gardens, where we got
Uh-huh.
to go behind the scenes with the keepers. And I think there were three couples that went it. So I had the opportunity to ask all the questions I wanted to ask. Now, I didn't have to
Right.
feel guilty because there were so few of us. I didn't
Right.
I didn't feel guilty about taking up all this time asking questions. So it was a lot of fun.
Yeah, I'll bet it was. I'm going to give you an interesting fact because I
Hmm.
don't know if we'll bring this up. I know we've mentioned it in other interviews, but I give 5% of my royalties to the Giraffe Conservation Foundation because giraffes are experiencing a silent extinction. And since you mentioned elephants, we hear a lot about elephants
Yes.
and their endangered threat and all that.
Yep.
There are 4 times more elephants in the wild than there are giraffes.
Wow, that's a
Yeah.
big difference. Oh,
And
how
people don't know it.
wonderful of you to support them. I mean,
Well, they're
that's a
doing
really
such a
great
great
thing.
job. They're
Yeah.
doing a great job. And thanks to them, I have data to go to and look at about giraffes because there wasn't a whole lot when I first started researching them years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, I did the same thing when I wrote my children's book, Emmett Elephant's Love, because I needed more detailed information than I could get in a wiki link. And
Hmm.
there's a great organization in South Africa that takes just wonderful care of orphaned elephants. So that was a cool place to
Mhm.
connect and get information. So
I'll bet.
I am so excited because the nature of the beast is a very unique collection of short stories. Um, you talk about who the beast is in contrast to who the prey is,
Hmm.
and which one wins out in
Hmm.
all these different scenarios. What what was the catalyst that first brought you to write this collection of shorts?
This is a collection of short stories that I've written over a lengthy period of time. So, for example, the first story, The Return of Raker, I wrote it years ago as part of a contest. And that one has a dragon in it. I'm not reading from that one, but that one has a dragon in it. And actually, in the contest, it was a finalist. So,
Congratulations.
thank you. Uh, Different ones I wrote for there were prompts sometimes. There was one called Buggers. There was an anthology I was hoping to get into that wanted they wanted a reluctant hero.
Mm.
And so I created this story idea, and as I wrote it, it became a little bit more horror than fantasy. So they didn't necessarily take it, although they were tempted. They
Yeah.
were tempted to take it, but they said, "Yeah, we
It's a
almost,
little
but
edgier than we can
we
use.
weren't. They didn't mind edgy, but it was more. It was definitely speculative and fantasy, but it was more had a little horror element to it. So some of the
Yeah.
stories have horror elements to them. Some of the stories have more just fantastical elements. There's a cute little story in there too that I absolutely love called Not a Nut. It's about a squirrel. But the idea behind these stories is that sometimes the beast is the scaled, slithery thing, and sometimes the beast is the human. And I won't tell you what's going to happen in the story I'm going to read to you, and I should have time to read the entire story of the particular one I've chosen. And it's one that I wrote. I had the idea for this story for just a long, long time. And one of the things I do for my subscribers to my newsletter, and I shouldn't call them subscribers, they're members of the Watchers Tribe. So one of
Okay.
the things I do for the Watchers Tribe is every other month they get a free short story in the newsletter. So this started as that. It has been tweaked and revised. So even if you get my newsletter, it's been updated. And a few of the stories are those kinds of stories too. They came from the newsletter.
What a
But
great idea to keep you accountable to your writing practice.
it
Promise
sometimes is
delivery to
frustrating.
somebody else. That's a great idea.
It's very frustrating. I'm like, oh no, I got to do a story this month. Huh? What have I got? Oh, I better write something. So that's why I said they get revised because sometimes they get a very early draft of these stories, but they get something,
Right.
that I've created just for
That's
them. And
fantastic.
then later I try to put them into something somewhere. So that's
I
how it
think it's an
goes.
awesome idea. I might steal that idea.
Oh, I stole
So,
it.
so today you're going to be reading a short story from The Nature of the Beast. So please,
Correct.
Barbara Evans, when you are ready, take the microphone and read aloud.
Did you just call me Barbara Evans?
I did. How did I get
That's
an
okay.
N in
It's
there?
it's okay because I get everything you can think of, but it is Evers, and
Evers.
it's
It's
not
Evers. E
Evers.
V E R S.
Yeah, if I've had people actually pronounce it Evers, that's not it either. It's Evers, but
So
I've heard Evans before.
this is an interesting thing that our brains do. We insert letters into words
Mhm.
when we don't even realize we're doing it.
Right.
And and as a side note, this is why editors are so important.
Exactly.
Because sometimes our brains, I'm a professional editor by trade and I just mess that up. So,
It's okay. It's perfectly
yeah,
okay. I just figure, well, since it was said the wrong way, let's go on and fix it. You're not the
absolutely.
first person to do it. Offline, I'll tell you all the ways people have butchered both my first and my last name, but I'm not going to give it to people here. So
I get
let me
it.
go on and read my story instead.
Thank you so much.
Okay, so this story is called Lifelike. And as I said, it was one of the ones that ended up in my newsletter initially. And I sat on the idea for probably 2 years before I wrote it. Mom, look, Celia's 10-year-old son, Jeremy, pointed ahead of them. Busy monitoring their collie's efforts to do her business, Celia offered a distracted response. Just a sec. But Mom, he whined, someone's living there. Living where? Celia used the poop bag to scoop up Sheppy's discharge, then straightened, her focus on securing the bag without getting anything on herself. No answer. Jeremy. She turned to locate her wayward son. Bare feet slapping the road, the impish boy ran toward the old Henley place. The ramshackle house, rumored to be haunted, looked the same except for a few cat and dog statues in the yard. Not to be daunted by the signs of habitation, the boy climbed over the fence where a slat had come loose, hanging from one side. He squatted beside a statue of a Scottish terrier. Jeremy, get out of their yard. Hands running along the statue's back, just like he did with Sheppy, the boy ignored her. The collie pulled her closer, her nose to the ground, and stopped at the edge of the yard. A low whine, followed by the rumble of a growl, announced her concern. Jeremy, come back here now. We don't know who lives there. The boy rose to his feet and looked around. These are cool. They look real. Come on. We need to stay out of the yard. You know the rules. Trotting back to her, dark brown hair flopping in front of his forehead, Jeremy grinned. I bet they won't mind. They like animals. Over the next few weeks, Celia forgot the exchange. Summer had shifted almost overnight to cool autumn days, and Joey spent his days at school. Most of Sheppy's walks occurred at lunchtime when Celia took a break from answering phones for the local medical offices. One day in early October, Sheppy chose to do her business within sight of the old Henley place. The yard still looked unkempt, the fence still unrepaired, but smoke curled out of the chimney, and an old beat-up Ford pickup rusted in the driveway. Not exactly improving the neighborhood, are they, Shep? She whispered as she scooped up the collie's latest deposit. Curious, she walked toward the house to get a better look, but the collie whined and pulled back. Sheppy, heel. She took 2 steps forward, but the leash pulled taut. Sheppy, come. The dog refused to budge. Okay, you're right. It's none of my business. She remained in the road a few more minutes, peering toward the yard. Whoever lived there definitely liked statues. Not only had a few more animals, squirrels, rabbits, and deer, joined the domestic pets, there was an adorable one of a young boy squatting as if to pet the rabbit. Everything looked so lifelike, she half expected the boy to stand or the rabbit to hop away. 2 weeks later, more statues crowded the yard. Wondering at this new neighbor's curious hobby, Celia returned to home and work. That afternoon, she handled more calls than normal. Autumn in school meant more sickness, so none of this surprised her. Whitney Medical, how may I help you? She answered as the monitor announced which office her current caller wanted. Hello? A woman sobbed on the line, her cries close to hysteria. Hello? Hello? What's wrong? These calls weren't common, but enough of them came through in a month that Celia no longer felt alarmed when the patient cried instead of speaking at first. My baby! Oh, my baby! The voice rose to a high pitch as the woman continued to wail. Is your baby hurt? No, no, no. Oh, sobbing. I can't. I want to help you. Please tell me what's wrong. How old is your baby? She's 6. Whimpered. What can I do? Okay, she's 6. What's her name? Sniffle. Kinsley Mercer? Tell me what's wrong with Kinsley. Celia held her breath and pulled up the screen to contact the EMTs. A loud whine rang through the headset so strong Celia winced. She'd need aspirin after this call. Please, I want to help you. Where are you? I'll send an ambulance. No, she's gone. A chill ran down Celia's arms. Miss Mercer, give me the address and I'll send the police and EMTs. No response, just more sobbing. Miss Mercer, I need your address. Nothing. Is Kinsley there or is she missing? While the woman continued to moan and cry, Celia pulled up the Whitney office's patient database and searched for Kinsley Mercer. If she'd been part of the 9/11 dispatch system like she begged her employers, she'd already have an address. If this turned out the way she feared, she'd be sure to take that point up again. As she sent an instant message to the police, she tried again. Miss Mercer, are you at home? 15 Sorrel Lane? That was just a block from her own home. Should she run over there? She's frozen. The woman keened some more. Grabbing her phone, Celia raced out the door. At least they'd agreed to her using a cell phone instead of a landline for these calls. Dashing across yards, she tried to get the woman to answer again. I'm coming to you, Miss Mercer, she panted. I live nearby. Police are on the way. Is your door unlocked? Yes. Within 3 minutes, Celia burst through the door of 15 Sorrel Lane. Miss Mercer! In the distance, she heard sirens. The house was overly warm, a fire roaring in the fireplace, and a young red-haired woman knelt beside a child wrapped in a blanket in front of the hearth. She looked up, blue eyes rimmed with red. Help her! Celia dropped to the floor and pulled the blanket back from the child. The skin around her eyes looked pale like her mother's. But the rest of her? The rest of her looked frozen in concrete, lifelike, just like the statues at the Henley place. As the EMTs raced into the room, the grayish stone-like cast crept closer until only the child's blue eyes stared up at Celia. Then they turned to stone, too. Gone. The child was gone. That's it.
Okay, that's just slightly creepy.
Yeah. I came up with that
Oh,
idea because there's a house near us that for a while somebody lived there and they just kept adding animal statues and animal statues and animal statues. And it kind of creeped me out.
yeah, the story's a little creepy. I can only imagine how creepy that would be in real life.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little odd. Wow. I don't know what to do with that. Okay, so what
It's okay.
what other short stories can we look forward to in this collection? What other kinds of
So
things do you touch on?
so let me go to the table of contents here. So I told you about the return of Raker. That's actually a dragon shifter story, and it's a fairly long one. Um, we have one called Amends, and Amends. Let me make sure I'm because some of these titles are very. Amends is a story about a woman trying to escape past with a past boyfriend and the supernatural happenings there. Even Stephen Heathens was actually a response to a prompt for this was a few years ago where you were supposed to write a story about people about a society where everyone receives the same income. The people who put out the contest were looking for stories of utopia, but I'm an author. I'm a real author. You
Yeah.
don't write utopia stories, you just don't do it. So it's a little bit different story, looking at what might happen if everybody had the exact same income, what might happen in
And there's a
society.
lot of alternative storylines in a
Yeah,
prompt like that. There's a lot
yeah.
you could do with something like that. How often do you utilize prompts in your writing? Are prompts your go-to when you hit writer's
No,
block?
no, they're not because I don't typically get writer's block. It's just so happens some of these came from prompts.
Mm-hmm.
Most of the time, I'm writing in my novels. And so sometimes I'll trip up on a prompt while I'm reading through a newsletter. Like I get see Hope Carol Hope, what is her name? Hope Clark's newsletter, which is Funds for Writers. And she puts in, y'all should look that up, by the way, if you're a writer. She puts in different calls for pieces and she puts in agents and publishers and literary
Fun.
journals and contests and stuff like that. So I think that's where that one came from.
So have any of these prompts made it into your novels?
The Return of Raker is going to turn into a novel.
Okay.
So it is like the backstory of some characters that I will eventually write.
Okay.
But there's
In the
several
Watcher series, have any of these prompt ideas
gone
weaseled
into the
their
Watchers. No, 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 they've not gone into the Watchers. I had to double think that one a
yeah.
little bit. Yeah, but there's some other things here. There's a couple of lighthearted ones. Not a Nut is very lighthearted. There's one called Mistake Number Three, which is it doesn't come across lighthearted, but it actually is once you figure out what's going on. So they're not all deep, dark, serious stuff.
Right, right. But
Kaleidoscope is
they all answer that question, what if,
yeah,
right?
yeah, they
Yeah.
do. And the last one in the book is called Kaleidoscope, and it's totally different from everything else. And it was, I was entering the Jordan Con anthology contest for 2024. It ended up in the anthology. And it also was a finalist in the Imagine Awards for short stories.
Very
So, and I
cool.
was up against some pretty big names in that particular population for
Mhm.
Imaginarium. So I did not win, but once I saw who else I was up against, I was like, it's a toss up who's going to win this because
Yeah.
I
You
knew
when
the,
you discover the acumen of the other authors, sometimes you have to give yourself a little grace and go,
yeah.
okay. You
And
know,
Kaleidoscope is a lighthearted one, and all three of the other authors I knew were going to write very dark things.
mhm.
So the judges on that particular one obviously went towards the dark. Um, I was just totally different
Right,
in that
right.
particular thing.
Well, short stories are wonderful that way because they give us an opportunity to dabble in things, and I like to see them as palate cleansers. In
Mhm.
between writing novels to write these short stories, it kind of gives your muse a moment to take a break
It
and
does.
rest a little bit.
It does. So,
I'm so
but yeah,
glad you came on the program today. Thank you
I
so
am too.
much.
I appreciate it. I enjoyed it. Um, Go check out Nature of the Beast. I think through the end of the year. So you said this was going to air in December still, right?
Yep, yep, yep.
So all of my books, except for Pieces of Her, are also on Smashwords.
Okay.
And so it's part of the Smashwords end of the year sale. But I also have on all the sites where you can get the ebooks, and this includes Pieces of Her, the one over here. They're all 99 cents as an ebook right now. And I don't know
That's
how long I'm going to keep
fantastic.
it, but I'm probably going to keep it that way till the end of the year.
That's wonderful.
So,
What a great opportunity for
yeah,
us to go in and grab your writing and learn more about your style. Thank you so much.
thank you.
I appreciate your time today and I look forward to you coming back because we still have one more Watchers to do.
We do.
Awesome. Thank you. I hope you have a wonderful end of the year.
You too.